Hello, Franklin County. We're here for another episode of Talk of the County. I'm your county administrator, Kenneth Wilson, and it's my pleasure to be here today with our dynamic county prosecutor, Shayla Favor. We are going to talk about a number of topics, talk about the exciting things that the county prosecutor has in store as it relates to ensuring that Franklin County is a more just place than it was the day she was sworn into this office. So let's kick this off by talking about the journey, so to speak. What brought you here? Was it a vision when you were a little girl that one day you would be a lawyer first and then rise your ranks and wear a black robe? I don't know. Tell us the journey. Tell us the vision.
Well, thank you for extending an invitation for me to speak to your viewers. And I think it's such an important and timely conversation. I always knew that I wanted to be a lawyer. From an early age, I had the opportunity to catch an old school show known as The Cosby Show that had a dynamic representation of an attorney, Claire Huxtable. And at the time, I was too young to really realize what she was doing. Mm-hmm. I just saw a bold Black woman with a briefcase telling folks off, and I said I wanted to be that. And from there, this started this spiral of moments that gave me just glimpses of what it would look like to advocate on behalf of those who could not speak up for themselves. And so when I moved to Columbus, I'm from Dayton, Ohio, moved to Columbus to go to OSU. This started the journey for me towards obtaining my law degree. And my first job out of law school, actually as an intern, was with the Columbus City Attorney's Office. And so I'm proud that the bulk of my career has been in public service and most certainly advocating on behalf of those who cannot.
There is no place that I think you can be more of a change agent than to be involved in the profession of law.
That's correct.
Because everything we do foundationally, particularly in public service, law is underlining it. Counties have to be authorized by statute to do all the important work that we do across all of our different programs. Talk about your vision as far as this particular office and how you want to be a change agent for good. And it's particularly important because now we have to prepare to be defensive against a lot of things that seem to be coming our way. And it always seems like the greatest opportunities present themselves for us when there are challenges and the road won't be easy.
Yeah, I appreciate that question. And you're absolutely correct. My vision for this office really, it's something different that I am grateful that the voting folks of Franklin County approved. And that is one where a justice system is not simply punitive, but restorative, that seeks to address the root causes of violence and crime in our community, not to no longer just be an institution that puts Band-Aids over symptoms. And that means that we have to roll up our sleeves and do the real dirty, nuanced work of what is happening in our communities. I have said over and over again that the job extends beyond the courtroom. If you wanted a prosecutor that was only going to be concerned about winning cases and cycling people in and out, then I wasn't the person for you, because I'm willing to lock arms with folks like you and others across our community, other leaders, to work to address what is happening in our communities. And then, as you mentioned, what is unfolding from a federal and state perspective, this office, alongside you and others, stands on the front lines to make sure that what is happening continues to be lawful. And there's a lot that is happening. And lawyers all across this country, including those on the bench and those who serve as prosecutors, are going to truly be required to be on the front lines right now.
Yeah, the judiciary branch has been particularly active in what hasn't been 30 days yet of robust activity.
Yeah.
And people really don't realize the extent and the breadth of your office. To your point, prosecutor, they think about your position. If you poll people on the street, they'll be like, oh, she's going to prosecute crimes, and that's what she's going to do. They don't know that you're responsible for a whole entire civil division.
Correct.
In addition to the criminal division, of course. But the civil division represents townships, represents the interests of public health. People found out the importance of laws during the pandemic, but the regulations related to carrying out public health in this county, your office touches all of that. Your office touches solid waste. Your office touches all environmental crimes. I mean, it's you name it. And I think that you have a unique opportunity, given your background as a city council person, to be out and to be able to explain and amplify those other responsibilities.
Yes, you're absolutely correct. There was a long campaign period that I was on, but part of that, I'm appreciative for that, because that gave me an opportunity to educate the voters of Franklin County about what this job actually is. There are some that would want to think that this job, and it's a misnomer. The title itself conveys the sense that you are only in a courtroom prosecuting criminal cases. And while that is a part of it, is not the only thing that this job is tasked with. As you've indicated, we have a robust civil division that touches almost every contract that the county enters into. And this county serves close to 1.4 million residents. So you're talking about contracts that deal with everything around our public health services, to contracts that help to get dollars to important stakeholder agencies that make sure your housing insecurity is addressed, that food insecurity is addressed, to now even dealing with immigration and how imperative it is for us to be on the front lines of that. And so this is an incredibly big job for someone who's got great big vision and ready to tackle it. And so no one could foretell when I put my name in the hat that this is what we would be dealing with, but I'm beyond grateful for the opportunity to be able to do this work.
Yeah, I mean, you leaving Columbus City Council and moving to this position, you left behind a legacy of working on issues such as housing.
Yes, sir.
And now, in the time you've been here, I know you've been able to be very engaged in housing. That's and your office plays an active and important role in the contracts that we negotiate with developers to create affordable housing. So you will be just as involved, if not more involved, than you was with the things you left behind.
Absolutely.
Same goes for economic development.
Absolutely.
A lot of what the county do, the prosecutor's office is a very key partner. Let's talk procurement. Franklin County is a $2.2 billion enterprise, and our purchasing director has to work closely with your civil division to make sure that we can be advocates for small business, that we can be effective in reaching minority-owned, women-owned, veteran-owned businesses, etc. But we have to do that around the constructs of the Ohio Revised Code again.
That's right. And that's why I'm grateful for my prior experiences, because everything has led me to this point that I'm able to sit here before you today feeling extremely confident for all of those experiences that have added to where I'm at today. And so I think about my time at Columbus City Council as a legislator and understanding the value of what that job and my prior experience, having been a Columbus City attorney, meant for me in that job, and how that made me a much more effective and robust legislator. And so now I think about those two very important positions and how they have prepared me for the moment that I'm in right now.
Let's talk about mentors. Mentorship plays an important role in our lives. Those of us that have been able to be successful would not be there had it not been having effective mentors, individuals you look up to. Before I really got to know you in a professional capacity, I knew you from a distance. Some pretty dynamite folks said, watch out, that's Shayla Favor. She's gonna be on the rise, you know. So that right there, from the people that I heard speak highly of you, I was like, oh, they about it. So she gotta be about it. So talk about who your mentors are, who are those distant figures that you may have. You mentioned Claire Huxtable, but more real, real life sheroes and heroes that you look to and had aspirations to say, I want to be in that same space.
Yeah, you know, the first one that comes to mind is my mother, who's no longer with us. She was a dedicated public servant herself, worked for the government as a civil servant her entire career. But she was the first person that told me that I had this unique gift, this way about speaking. And I remember her telling me this as a young adult. I was in high school and I was the vice president of my graduating class. And she had said this statement to me, and it just stuck with me my entire life. She was my first cheerleader, my first demonstration of what real advocacy looks like. And I'm forever grateful for her sacrifice for me and my sister. What I will say is that there's this quote that states something along the lines of, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And I think that is so true. I think majority of my life, I have had glimpses of mentors that were just shy of being out of my reach. And always thinking that I would need those guides along the way. But I want to say this, and I do have strong mentors in my life now. But there's also something to be said about learning to navigate certain spaces, even if you don't have a guide, and that you should not count that as a deterrent in any way if someone who's watching today doesn't have those people in their lives just yet. It is only a sign for you to keep pressing, to keep pushing towards whatever your goal might be. But even with that being said, I got some strong, dynamic women, the likes of Janet Jackson, former city attorney and former judge, former almost everything in Franklin County, Congresswoman Joyce Beatty. I could truly go on and on. I think one of the constant things that rings true about all of the dynamic men and women in my life is that they're not afraid to fail. They're not afraid to step out there, and oftentimes step out there alone. And that's who and what I am. That's what I want to see. I want to continue to surround myself with those types of individuals. They're not encouraging me to go along with the crowd, but to continue to be out there. And sometimes that means you might be alone.
Right. And to play it safe, to play it safe, you wouldn't have made history by becoming the first African-American prosecutor in Franklin County's history.
You got that right.
Because playing it safe, you would have just been comfortable in spaces where you had established yourself.
That's right.
And not spoke to that risk that you talked about, that character. You know, you an individual that has to be driven, has to work hard, make personal sacrifices. And when you do that, you have to have, it's a big, big plus to have a partner in your life that is down for you, that it has your back, that supports you and you support them. And I see that chemistry and that dynamic when I see you and your spouse together. Talk a little bit about how your personalities mesh together and how does it make it work?
Yeah.
How does Team Favor put it all together?
My husband is from New York, moved to Columbus to attend CCAD, Columbus College of Art and Design, and we met in undergrad. We've been married now for 17 years, and he's a typical New Yorker, very verbose, loud. He's not a Midwesterner, okay? And so there is this balance, though, that we have brought to each other, that we have grown along with each other on this journey called life. And he pushes me, I push him in a way that has allowed that natural inclination to grow, to truly happen. We are not the same people that we were 17 years ago. Thank God for that, right? And you see a lot of relationships crumble because you expect one to be exactly who they were, and you don't give them the grace to be exactly who they were created to be. And he knows exactly who I am. I am a very driven woman who has this vision for her community as well as her life and her family. And that takes a very confident person to walk alongside, not just walk alongside, but to root alongside them every single day, to show up even when you're not even asked to be there. Unsolicited advice for anyone who's listening, in relationships, they're hardly ever 50-50. It's hardly ever 50-50. There will be times in life where you are only have the ability to give 10%, and that other person gives 90, right? But if you're keeping track, you are on the wrong journey, right? And so recognizing that life will ebb and flow, relationships will ebb and flow, means that you're on track to have a really dynamic relationship. Right. So I'm so grateful.
It takes energy to keep score.
Oh, yes, it does.
In a relationship. So, and that energy could be better used uplifting the relationship.
You got to decide what you want.
You gotta do that.
Yeah.
And you gotta be confident in yourself to continue to root for each other.
That's right.
And not have, internal thoughts of I'm not the one in this relationship. Yeah. It goes and comes.
Yes.
Everybody, is in different spots at different times.
Right.
And it takes, for me to win, it takes sacrifice from my spouse.
That's right.
For her to win, it takes sacrifice from me, and vice versa. So if when you're in a relationship and you've been married a long time, you have to know that, accept that, and understand that.
And know that when you win, you both win, right? And when you both win, the community is winning. Right. It is a domino effect that we want to continue to pour into.
And we all, like you say, we evolve over time. We all have different personalities.
Well, we hope we evolve over time.
Yeah. And if we don't, that's when things can kind of go sideways. Right. When one person grows and the other person don't, then that doesn't end well. You gotta be, just comfortable to, with your personality. A lot of times with success, you used to a lot of people telling you that, oh, you great, you this and that. And then your spouse goes to a event with you or something. They be like, oh, you just okay. Your spouse is great. We just like your spouse. She's coolest person ever. But you got to be comfortable with that. You got to, that just goes with the sauce. In the Franklin County Prosecutor's Office, what has been your most enlightening observation, and where do you see on the flip side of that, where do you see your greatest challenges?
Yeah. So, throughout the campaign, there was a lot of conversation about youth violence in our community. And this office has jurisdiction over all juvenile crimes. And so, what has been very enlightening is getting to know the juvenile division, the prosecutors, the advocates, the staff who are tasked with, unfortunately, having that initial encounter with any youth that might have been brought in because of something connected to criminality, and knowing how much they care about that young person and what happens to them on the other side of this, that they are so committed to the rehabilitation of that young person and ready to lock arms with me in my endeavors to create more diversion programs, more programs that are going to reach that youth and make sure that we don't ever see them again. That has been so enlightening to me. I think what has been slightly challenging for me is to begin to do the work that the commissioners have supported around our conviction integrity unit. And that is a unit that has the support of the commissioners and most certainly is work that is truly being embraced across this country for anyone who has an outcry for their case to be reevaluated. That one is something that I'm excited to get to do the work on, that there are already cases that are under review and that there are so many cases in our community where folks have outcries of innocence and no one has taken the time to do the work, the investigations that it will take to truly uncover whether or not they had their fair day in court. And so those are just two. I could probably name countless others for you.
How do you think we could do a better job, not only in Franklin County, but I think in the country in general, in attracting more individuals of color, more women, more diverse individuals into the field of law, public sector law, civil rights law, laws protecting individuals against all the isms, and laws protecting those individuals that are developmentally different. All of these things. How can we attract more people into law that way? I mean, do we get them all to read a civil rights law? If you read Thurgood Marshall's book, Showdown, I think that it'll light a fire in somebody considering law to think about civil rights law and how important the work of Thurgood Marshall and others were during the civil rights, but the bravery they had to exhibit.
Yeah, I'm so grateful for this question. I really am. Here's the thing. It is very hard to be what you have never seen before. And when I think about what a traditional prosecutor looks like, it doesn't look like me. The reality is that less than 2% of elected prosecutors across this country are Black women. And the numbers they're just as mind-blowing when we think about attorneys in general. So there's so much work to be done in this area. But that's why representation absolutely matters. The reality is that if you care about criminal justice reform, then you have to know that everyone plays a role in dismantling this system. And that means that if you are a person of color, most certainly an African American in this country, that you are not relegated to only being in positions that defend criminality, being defense attorneys or being a judge, perhaps, right? That you have an opportunity to be in all aspects of criminal justice reform, whether that's being a legislator who helps to enact and change laws, or if it's being even someone in law enforcement as a police officer or EMS agent, or even as a prosecutor, right?
Mm-hmm.
We all have a role to play and to dismantle the systems that seek to oppress us. And so if I cannot be that for my community, then they can never see that it is possible for this to actually happen. Some will think about some of those narratives that came about during Vice President Harris's campaign to be president in our country. Some called her top cop and things like that, but not knowing the power that truly rests with being a prosecutor, not to just change one's lives, right? But truly to change someone's life and to change the system in which it operates. And so that is how we can begin to attract people into a public service, and certainly into public service as it relates to the law itself. You got to create an office where people actually want to come and work with, right?
Yes.
The office should reflect the community that it serves.
The organizational culture is everything.
Exactly. And so that is what I'm working to build here at the Franklin County Prosecutor's Office. I got to be the change that I want to see. And hopefully that will begin to change the narrative and attract people once again to this office.
Because it's tough. When you think about private sector law firms, you think you're fortunate enough, you graduate from law school, you pass the bar, and you feel like you're on a island in the law firm because you don't have that peer circle.
Yes.
You had visions, you had an imagination of what you wanted to do. Particularly, think about if you went to a HBC university and then you go on to, say, a Howard Law School. You were with your peers learning the craft, and then you had to go to another territory and try to figure it out, whether it's public sector or private sector. That is the tough part for some people. You got to get comfortable with, like you say, being alone early in this conversation. You got to be alone for a while and be hopeful that you got leadership that builds a organizational culture that will be inclusive and bring others in.
Yep.
And that's why we must fight so hard for inclusiveness and representation.
That's right.
And we cannot be deterred of finding a way to fight for that.
That's right.
Because we cannot progress. We cannot stand up against the ills in the wrongs of society. Because you think back, whatever, everyone had an opinion back then. But my fraternity brother, the late Johnny L. Cochran, everyone knew who he was because he was one of the lead attorneys representing O.J. Simpson. And everyone will forever remember the quote, "If it don't fit, you must acquit." And people related to him, and people, it didn't matter what state you live in. I know casually I would hear people you better hire Johnny Cochran. Let's bring Johnny Cochran to town. But he was just one man, but a whole country, of people, because we just in spots. That's why, prosecutor, we have to have aspirations to be in every aspect of American life.
Yep.
And that we're more than just one.
That's right.
Because we're two ones here right now talking to each other right now in 2025.
Yep.
That's where we're at.
And we collectively are on the front lines fighting on behalf of close to 1.4 million residents in this county. And here's the thing. We're not going to attract everybody, and that's okay. We don't need everybody. But in the current season that we're in, this very polarizing political environment, and the one question you hear over and over again, that I hear, is what can we do, right? And we are showing people what they can do. You can tap in and get involved in any way that your heart's desires, right? And so if for you, that is in the private sector, that's great. There's ways that you can support the work that we're doing every single day. Mm-hmm. Think about all of the contracts just today that the county commissioners solidified, to the Fashion Alliance, to Stonewall, Columbus, so many different ways that we are impacting residents every single day. That is how you can help. And for those where public services are calling, because I do believe public services are calling, we got a place for you here, right? But that cannot happen if we don't do our individual roles and parts, and most certainly collectively working together to make a difference for those in our community. Representation matters.
Representation matters. You have to be visible. There was a time in my career where I just wanted to try to fly under the radar as much as I possibly could. But as time went on, I came to a realization that if I'm in doing that, I'm not doing a service fully to the people as a public servant, that I don't amplify and use my voice and use the influence that I'm blessed to have to talk to young people, to tell them that you can do this same thing. It won't happen overnight, but it'll happen for you probably a lot quicker than it happened for me if you have the discipline, the drive, and the passion to help people.
Right. And there's a saying that the young folks say now, Mr. Wilson, because I'm not young anymore. They say, this person walked so the next could run. And that's what we're doing every single day. And when you think about it, our ancestors were walking so that you and I could run. And now the next generation will take up the baton from where we leave it and go even further. Our generations in the African American community should not be starting over every single generation. There should be this evolution that continues to take the mission and the story that much further than where we left it. But what we're seeing now is this intentional effort to roll back many of those civil rights that those before us fought for. And we cannot drop the baton. This moment demands that we do everything to make sure that it truly doesn't fall. Are there attacks happening to make sure that it does? Yeah, absolutely. But we have to stand 10 toes down to make sure that the baton doesn't drop. The worst thing that could have ever happened was for folks to get under this impression that the fight had been won, that the battle was over, that racism and all the isms were gone. They were not, right? They were absolutely not. And so it is our job to revive this fight, this movement again, and to get folks up out of whatever sleep they might be in and prepare them for this battle that lies ahead.
Yeah, no, you can't get so comfortable in life that you lose the sense of the importance of civic engagement.
That's right.
Civic engagement is not an option, because at any time a group of people become comfortable with their current circumstances, that I'm taking care of me and all my needs, therefore I don't need to engage in the struggle, and that's where we had that sense of starting over again, because there's talk about inclusion, put quite frankly, is about opening the door to the library, and we haven't, even in 2025, got the door all the way open. We're constantly trying to get the door all the way open, because what does the library offer? Books, opportunities, digital content, and with knowledge comes your power. That's right. To do and be what you want to be. Because once you get those things in your hand, the system can't take it away. If you operating with integrity and you don't become complacent. But the name of the game for progress is to keep the door open as long as possible, because there are systems that say we need the library to close at 6 instead of 8, because that's 2 hours that someone's in there learning. Mm-hmm. And I have people talk about the power of the newspaper, which newspaper is not what it was, but the newspaper was college for working class people at one point in time. So many people gain knowledge about where to invest their money, they actually better their circumstances by the content they picked up in the newspaper each day. Yeah. If they were able to read it. Mm. What do you do for enjoyment to we talk about this thing called work-life balance.
Yeah. Whatever that is.
Yeah, I know. I'm dying. This was a setup question. I know.
So, I'm going to be honest. I keep it real with your listeners. I'm not the best at it at all. I really am an introvert. I find moments of quiet, respite at home by myself. I enjoy my own company. That is a way that I find myself able to truly restore. The thing about being a public servant, like a real public servant, is that you give all of yourself to this job. You are often depleted. There has not been 1 week, I think this is week 7 for me, where I have not left the week completely depleted. So much so that I'm dealing with bronchitis. I'm on the tail end of bronchitis now. So if you hear the cough, that's where it's from. But with that being said, you have to find ways to fill the cup back up. And so for me, just being alone helps me to be able to do that. I also love spending time with my husband. We have 2 dogs, Arizona and Hudson. And so we take care of them and try to get them out and about. And we love to travel.
What type of dogs are Arizona and Hudson for the podcast viewers? We need to know what type of dogs they are.
You'll love this, Mr. Wilson. So Hudson is 13, 14 years old, something along those lines. He was a gift to my husband when I graduated from law school. He was the gift for putting up with me, I should say, throughout that entire journey. The name Hudson comes from Corey being a New Yorker. And then Arizona, and we adopted him from the Franklin County Dog Shelter. Okay. That's why we don't know completely what he is, but we believe he is a lab and a Ridgeback mix.
But we know he's sophisticated. With a name like Hudson, he has to be a sophisticated pooch. He's not your average dog that goes by the name of Hudson. Hudson is name alone. Come here, Hudson.
Yes,
so Hudson know he does
very distinguished.
Very distinguished. There was a department store chain from that state up north, and Hudson was a big department store chain for many years.
Yes.
Carried fine clothing.
Yes,
such.
I love that.
So Hudson.
I love that. Arizona.
It goes by Arizona.
Yes, she is a 2-year-old, 85-pound Rhodesian Ridgeback that we got on vacation. I told you we like to travel. And so you get one guess where we got her from.
Where you have her?
Arizona. The state of Arizona.
Arizona came from Arizona.
Yes, she did. You show me one other person.
Now, there's got to be days where Arizona be like, what happened to me? It was 102 degrees the place I left, and now it's 10.
You know what? That and Hudson, who is well established and has been rolling solo dolo for his entire life. And now you got this puppy that comes and just wrecks everything. But they're great dogs. They're great dogs. They keep us.
Yeah, Hudson got to show Arizona the ropes of life.
Yes, he does. Problem is that she tramples him in size now. So, yeah.
Arizona. That's what travel and bring a pet back.
I would not suggest that for folks, but yes, I did pick up a dog on vacation and didn't know that I didn't even know if you could take a dog back to the resort, but I sure did take this cute little puppy back to the resort.
Yes, there is an abundance of Chihuahuas in the greater Phoenix area. Fast fact.
Okay.
And there's I don't know if this program is still in place, but they were literally exporting Chihuahuas from Arizona, Phoenix area, to Wisconsin, where there was not as many Chihuahuas. Okay. So, yeah.
Look at that.
That's a talk of the county tidbit.
Not even going to ask why you know that information.
It's because one of our agencies is Animal Care and Control.
Yeah, there you go.
And we had the University of Wisconsin doing some research for us, some work with us. So look at that. So I learned that.
Yeah.
That's the diversity of county government. That's a podcast in and of itself.
That's correct. So
the aim of Talk of the County is to break down county government into chunks and talk about different aspects of it.
Yeah. That's a little unknown fact.
So I can have a conversation with you about all the different functions of your office and ensuring law, order, and contracts and procurement. Mm-hmm. And then I have to pivot and I'm having a conversation with the county auditor about suicide prevention rates, overdose prevention, the number of autopsies that are occurring, the number of things that. So there's a lot of diversity in Franklin County government. Mm-hmm. And when people talk about what counties do, I say what counties don't do, I think is a better question, because you really have to think hard about what we don't operate a county hospital here in Franklin County, and we don't have a fire department. Mm-hmm. And those are two areas where we don't necessarily touch, but we do operate a emergency management agency, mm-hmm. and Homeland Security, which touch with emergency response. So there is that relationship. We have a seat at the table there. So it's not a place where we don't touch. So what came out of that question was, you do love to travel. So that's a diversion in and of itself. Do you and your spouse prefer the beach or mountains if you choose between it?
Oh, desert.
Desert. Okay.
Yeah. I am a desert girl, so anywhere out west is much appreciated. But before COVID, we would take 1 year on, 1 year off, so like a restoration type of vacation, and then an adventurous vacation, because some adventurous vacations can be a little bit more stressful than actually restorative. So we like to do both. What's
the best city in the desert in the United States?
Ooh. Oh well, so Vegas will probably show up, kind of loud and proud in that conversation. But if you got outside of the Strip of Vegas, mm-hmm. You would see truly how beautiful that area is. And I just love seeing the mountains and the terrain. If we had more time, I would
drove from Vegas to the California state line.
Yeah.
And it was the weirdest experience, because you started to see those mirages as you drive.
Oh yeah.
You get there.
Oh yeah. But I love the California as well. Perfect weather. On days like today where it's like 9 degrees outside, mm-hmm. I question my choice of really digging in deep and to Ohio.
I'm glad there is a lot of work to be done here, so you can just go to the desert on your spare time.
It's a choice, man. It's rough today.
Escape to the desert. But it's rough. It's rough today.
It is rough.
At least the sun is out now. Yeah. Okay. Ohioans, we have to know that, sun is a blessing, even if it's 10 degrees.
That's
because
true.
We have so many days that are great.
That is true.
That are just great.
Be grateful for my blessings.
When the season turns short and you go to work and it's dark, and you come home and it's dark, that's a real thing.
And the tide is turning, sir. The day is getting just a little bit longer. So we have that little vitamin D coming in.
What fun fact would you like to share with Talk of the County listeners about Prosecutor Shayla Favor that would surprise many?
I have already shared with the community at large that I have an affinity for cooking. Before I went to law school, I went to culinary school. But I also have a love for anything connected to fashion. My mother was big into fashion. My sister works for Dress for Success, which is a nonprofit organization in our community that helps to provide clothing for every aspect of the woman and those who identify as women, regardless of what your career level might be. She also volunteers her time with Columbus Fashion Week. And so just naturally, the two of us are into expressing ourselves in that way.
2 follow-up questions. What is your favorite dish of many, be it that you have culinary skills with a Z?
Mm-hmm.
And are there days or multiple days during the course of the year where Prosecutor Favor changes her outfit at least twice?
Oh, yes. Okay, so because it's cold, let's do something warm. I dug into this chicken tortilla soup not too long ago from scratch. I really built those flavors up. The profile was so dynamic. I had some family in from California text me a few weeks after his departure, needing that recipe, and I just let the ancestors guide me as I was cooking it. I'm working on perfecting a soup that I had 2 weeks ago. It's a Tuscan kale sausage soup. I took one shot at it last week. I don't love the angle that it went down, so we're going to tap back in and try again. Okay. And that's a lesson for folks. When you don't succeed the first time, try again. Get back in
Test
there.
kitchen. That's what our test kitchen
right?
was built.
And my husband and my nephews, who also live with us, are very appreciative of my ability to keep trying over and over again. And then, do I change my outfit more than once? Of course, especially when it's Columbus Fashion Week. I have to change multiple times in a week. In a day, just to be prepared for the events that are out there to support our dynamic nonprofit organizations.
So, over under, shoes.
Oh, how many do I have?
Between 50 and 200.
Oh,
what we are in that range?
Under, because I'm rough on shoes. I'm very, very rough on shoes, and yes, I want to change that though.
You still don't, that discourages you from buying them, or that means how long they stay in the rotation before they get moved out?
And I had a cobbler, and unfortunately my cobbler fell ill, so I'm really in dire straits right now. I could get there, but I need a new cobbler.
Are you a handbag person?
Yes, sir.
We don't endorse brands here, but the listener's gonna want to know what are your 2 favorite handbag brands?
Oh, okay. So, aspirational, Fendi, mainly because, they're just a dynamic brand all across the board. And it starts with an F, my last name.
Right.
But like day to day, old school Coach, great bag, awesome leather. They are durable bags. They have a new fashion designer. Okay, talk of the county. You're going to think I'm absolutely crazy. Yes, these are sustainable bags for the everyday person going to work.
Mm-hmm. You don't get more when you think about American classic luxury. You think of Coach.
That's right.
You just that's just an automatic.
Yeah.
It's like classic American luxury car. People think of Cadillac or Lincoln or so coaches in that space.
They are
but there are other aspirational brands, and we won't if everything else you've said. I know fragrances also has to go with this. Fragrance has to go with this.
Yes, sir, it does. My favorite?
Your favorite?
There is there's one by Baccarat Rouge. It's called Baccarat Rouge. that is a little popular right now. And then there's another one that it's escaping my mind right now. It's a pink bottle. That doesn't help your viewers, but I mean, I am into fragrance.
You say that you were a native of Dayton, Ohio.
Correct. 937.
What do you remember most about Dayton, and that you carried it with you and you have fond memories? Before Buc-ee's. There's a Buc-ee's in the greater Dayton.
I'm so glad you asked me this question, because it's really it's the reason why I have demonstrated such a passion for housing. One of the fondest memories for me is my grandmother's home. She lived off of one of the main streets in Dayton called Salem Avenue. She lived in a historic community, much like what the Near East Side might look like in Columbus. Big old homes that they just don't make like that anymore. And unfortunately, when my grandmother passed, we lost that home. My grandmother had 9 children, my mother being one of the youngest ones. And that would be the gathering place for all holiday events. And when she passed, I was too young at the time, but we were unable to keep that family home. And when I think about the disinvestment of this historic community, when I think about those opportunities that were not presented to people that looked like my grandmother and others, and that we didn't have the capital, the resources and the wherewithal, that there wasn't a will in place, that to this day, home ownership is the number one way in which people generate wealth. And my family, much like others and across this country, were locked out of that opportunity. And so, I whether people knew or did not know, that is one of the reasons why I was so passionate and continue to be passionate about addressing housing insecurity and all those things that are connected to it. That home ownership can continue to be a way for us to break those generational curses, for communities and cities and the government to reconcile the intentional efforts that were made to make sure that certain communities did not get access to capital, that highways like the one that is right before us was cut across, not just not across communities that were affluent or that were white adjacent, but disconnected communities of color and ravaged them. Right? This is the story of our
played the same
country.
role as railroad tracks.
Exactly. This is the true story of our communities across this country. I have a map in my office right now, which is a redlining map of Columbus. And if you took that map and put it right now as a heat map against all of the different issues that we talk about, housing insecurity, homelessness, infant and maternal mortality, it would almost look exactly the same.
Life expectancy
Exactly.
is different
Exactly.
from exit to exit in many communities.
Exactly. So when I think about Dayton, I think about those good times, but I also think about how it was truly the first lesson, if you will, that demonstrated to me in real time what these laws and policies truly, the type of impact that they can have on families.
That's a big part of your story. That's a big part of America's story about generational wealth that could have been, that was lost by the matriarch of the family home being lost for a variety of reasons. Sometimes for predatory reasons. Grandmother and grandfather took out a home equity loan that no one knew about, or some shady proposal. You need to replace that roof, right? And they got charged 3-4 times what they should have, and and it got so far out that the family wasn't able to save it. And that's wealth loss. And for people of modest means, home ownership still to this day is the greatest source of any hope for any type of net worth whatsoever.
Yes.
You know, or every family balance sheet is all liabilities and no assets.
Exactly. Because you know what happens when you own your home, you can take that equity out of your home and you can make sure that you're not taking out other loans to take out in case you have a medical emergency. You don't have to take out a loan or go into debt. You go making sure that your child can go to college or whatever those endeavors might be. That is how wealth continues to accumulate and can be passed on. And so I'm on a mission to educate and empower the members of our communities to know just how powerful this tool should and could be for them.
It is, really. And the toll is not just financial. I remember the show Soul Food. Many people's life was like that, to a point where every Sunday they were having dinner at the same place, at Big Mama's house or grandma, wherever you're gonna call that person in your life. And then once that person passed away, they still have those emotional and mental attachments that are severed.
That's right.
And that too cannot be underestimated. And one of the challenges, particularly in the space that you're dedicated to work in, Prosecutor Favor, is the impact of toxic stress from current and past negative life experiences. I didn't know. I guess it hadn't really sunk in. Dr. Kim Braswell, who speaks every Thursday on the Equity Now Coalition call, was talking about negative life experiences and trauma being passed along in the DNA of African American men from generation to generation. That struck me like, wow, that's deep. And when you think about it, it's true. I mean, it's hard to break cycles when you just have this. It's like almost wired. It's like it's built in.
Yeah.
This morning's general session, we talked about the Put the Guns Down program and working with individuals to get them to change their way of life and be afforded an opportunity to do something positive, that they're able to eliminate these negative social determinant of health factors.
Exactly. And here's the thing, excuse me, you cannot expect for what has been ingrained in individuals, not by their own right, to just be remedied without actually taking accountability. We are talking about, if we're going to stay here on housing, state sanctioned policies that got us here, policies that were enacted by government, funded by government, and to not expect that government would be involved in the remedy and the solution to address those factors that come from all of those things is insane to me, right? And so, the way to counteract that is to make sure that we're doing good government every single day. Here at the county, over the last 7 weeks, I have seen for myself the types of investments that are being made to ensure that we are counteracting many of those state-sanctioned policies that help to create one of the most segregated communities in the country. And that's just a fact, right? But it's not going to just happen if, number one, we are not true. We are not being accurate about the history of not only this country, but also this community, this county, right? And that we don't have good folks in place that are dedicated to changing those policies and making sure that we are righting those wrongs. And so it is an honor to serve alongside people like you, our county commissioners, and other county electeds across this community that are just as dedicated to doing that work.
Okay. What's your favorite sports team? Or do you like sports at all?
Well, okay, I did say I led with my husband is a New Yorker. So my talking points are the New York Knicks, and we're taking it all the way this year. Period.
They're better.
Period.
They made some good moves.
Yes, they did make some good moves.
They made some good moves.
Yes, period.
So I'm gonna see you at Madison Square Garden, sitting next to Spike Lee. In the
one
NBA
day
playoffs or something.
One day,
sitting there next to Spike.
Yes, one day. Team Favor's working hard to make that a reality.
I know Mr. Corey Favor is a big Knicks player. I've seen him on social media all decked out.
Yes,
and his orange and blue Knicks gear. So,
yes. And it don't matter how good. We are not fair weather fans. We're going to dig deep regardless of what it looks like.
Madison Square Garden is a iconic place. I mean, it is one of those arenas just has so much history.
Yeah.
And all the great players seem to have some of their best games too.
Yeah.
In Madison Square Garden.
Yeah. Now I would be remiss.
Some of the Indiana Pacers came in there, and Reggie Miller just lost his mind some of them times.
Yeah. I would be remiss though if I also didn't shout out the Philadelphia Eagles. I used to live in Pennsylvania. So we're gonna do that. Yeah,
I was going for the Eagles all the way in the playoffs.
Okay.
And for so many reasons. I just think the way that Jalen Hurts as a quarterback represents himself currently, and the trials and tribulations that he went through as a young man, to be on this stage right now, and how humble he is, considering all he got. Because a lot of times when you've overcome great adversity and you've had to be resilient, when you come to the other side, you have this urge to want to be arrogant about it because you're like, I done been there. So I'm not going to be as concerned about going back. And I believe internally, instinctively, if I had to, I'd do it all over again.
Yeah.
And other things that about him is our whole conversation about representation and inclusiveness. One of your sources, a member of Delta Sigma Theta, is his attorney that negotiated his record-breaking contract.
Yeah.
And I also understand that his support team around him, his professional support team, are all women, I believe.
Yeah.
And the way he looks out for his family, he's just a solid
Agreed.
solid guy that,
Agreed.
We have to elevate and give each other credit.
Yeah.
When someone is different than the world want to paint us.
That's right. I'm going to also toss in all women's sports. We're about to enter Women's History Month, and women's sports has definitely made its way into the hearts and homes of folks all across this country. And so any opportunity I can to elevate that, I'll do that too.
We're going to set it off in 2027.
All
the
right.
Women's Final Four is right here
Yes.
in Columbus again.
That's going to be exciting.
And the last one we hosted could not have been better. I mean, it was like a Hollywood script, as you remember. So hopefully I'm in the house.
Me too, sir.
For that, for sure. I mean, who would have thunk? The late Kobe Bryant came with his daughter, who we all know the story there. What happened to them tragically, but his daughter was very much on her way. As a women's basketball player. So, yes, and the Columbus Fury we have that its season is underway right now, professional women's volleyball. There's a lot of great athletes that are part of the Columbus Fury. So, yes, we we in Franklin County, through our contributions to the Sports Commission, we invest in women's sports, probably on par with anyone to that effect. So I'm glad you mentioned that as well. So what's on your playlist?
Yeah.
Are you R&B? Are you gospel? Or it depends on your mood. What's on Prosecutor Favor's playlist?
You know, it depends on the day. Now, I did play an instrument in high school, so you know I consider myself to have some type of
musician.
Yeah.
All you had to do was play for a certain period of time, and you're a musician, of course.
I'll take it. But my catalog ranges from old school. I'm from Dayton, so you know that means that I grew up with the Roger Troutmans and all of that, Lakeside
Jazz band, all that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the foundation of much of the music that is being sampled today. Okay, that's a fact. So I love all of that, but I also love
You was
restorative.
rocking to Computer Love back in the day.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Should I have been? Probably not. But yes, I was. My mother went to school with most of them, so But anyway.
Roger Trap.
Yes.
Yeah.
But you know, I love restorative music. So anything that ministers to the spirit, I listen to gospel, things of that nature.
You need gospel as the county prosecutor in your life sometimes.
I do.
Yeah, you need some gospel.
I do. When I'm working here, I like to listen to like a chill station or music with no words. So like a meditation spa, just it's like thinking music, if you will. I like Afro beats. I like a little bit of everything.
Okay. Yeah. No, but yes, you just being a musician, you just a fan of musician in general.
And I gotta say Beyonce too, like anything.
Like everybody. That's like automatic right now. That's like everything. She won a country Grammy, so you know there's no stopping her.
Yes.
Cowboy Carter.
I don't think I'll be at the Cowboy Carter concert though.
You don't want no nice cowboy boots?
No, I absolutely
I can see you in very expensive cowboy boots.
I can see
a hat to match.
Agreed, sir. Agreed.
I think I want some boots though. Maybe this is my excuse to get me some boots. I need to go to Texas. Next time in Texas, give me a nice pair of boots.
But I've heard it's a bit of a challenge to get a ticket these days.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it can be figured out.
Where there's a will, there's a way.
I know from my experience, it can be figured out. I might not be in attendance, but I know from experience that people figure out how to get to Beyonce concerts.
That's true.
They figure it out, Prosecutor.
Now, sir, you know we have a concert coming up here next month, actually. It's Mary J. Blige.
I will be there.
I will be there, too. Look at the county.
I will be there.
Attracting great artists.
I will be there, yes.
That will be a great show.
Yeah, it should be a great show. This has been, we haven't been as, I think we've been entertaining, but we've talked about a lot of serious topics, rightfully so. From day one, as my team would tell you, I said that the goal of Talkative County was to inform, enlighten, and entertain people and try to get some people to listen and hear what's happening in the county, because we have some pretty dynamic, cool, everyday people doing amazing things every day. You're not ordinary. You're dynamic, and you have been elected to represent 1.4 million people and growing. But it was important for me to get the opportunity to talk to you about the office and its goals. And there is a special pressure with being the first of anything. With the privilege and the blessing, one carries an obligation to do something unique during that period of time. And as we wrap up, what do you say to the residents that is your North Star as it relates to this position at this point in your life? Not going to ask you what you're going to see yourself doing 10 years from now and then like that, because it's probably something. Yeah. I'm just going to say, at this moment in time, what do you see as your North Star?
Yeah. I am absolutely committed to doing the job that the residents elected me to do. When I think about what it means to be the first, it is a privilege and a responsibility that I do not take lightly. That means that I hold myself to a level that might not be healthy, but it is demonstrative of the moment that we are in this country. It demands someone who is filled with faith, that is courageous, that is willing to, at times, stand alone to say the hard thing. And I think about what my ancestors had to go through in order for me to be the 52nd prosecuting attorney in this county. It's 222-year history. When I think about the women who have dedicated their lives to make sure that I could sit here before you today. If I don't have the ability to stand with courage, to demonstrate a strong work ethic, then I don't deserve to be here. And so the residents should know that oftentimes I'm the first in office and the last to leave, not to make a point, but because the work is too great to take any moment lightly. And it is imperative for me that I am not simply just the first, but that I make a way for there to be a second, third, fourth, and 100th after me. And so that means I got to do this job very well. Right?
Yep. You all heard it, folks. She's definitely not just savoring in the moment. No. She is all about grinding and putting in the work in setting the county apart from all others as it relates to the functions of the office of the county prosecutor. So I think that 1.4 million people are not going to be disappointed when they look at the results that you will return in this particular office. So anything else you would like to share before we should wrap up?
I used to say this all the time as a legislator. You should always be leery of anybody who says they have all the answers, right? That's not the person, certainly not the leader that you want. And I don't have all the answers, but I will always work to find an answer and build coalitions that can help provide those answers for our community. And so this is an invitation to our listening audience and to our stakeholders to tap in right now, get involved in any way that you can, become engaged. If you have an idea that you would like to see, to let us know. And I would ask humbly for us to be collectively committed to making Franklin County a community that achieves those goals.
Thank you. That was all about justice and opportunity for every resident every day, and what you said there. So I thank you, Madam Prosecutor, for agreeing to join me for a Talk of the County podcast when you have so many things to do in the office. So I know your time is precious. So I do appreciate you affording me the opportunity, and I'm really happy to have you a member of Team Franklin County. Because I know we are the best in my eyes, and this is what we do. We lay it all leave it all on the field for every resident every day as well. So that concludes this episode of Talk of the County. And the way I always end it, if you know, you know. Do you, because nobody else has time to. So.